Howdy and hello, my name is Doe, hope we're doing good. Today we got a quick little synopsis on what are good cells, or in this case maybe the best cells, who knows, in Dauntless. I have a different video that goes into pretty great detail on what the cells do. Slightly outdated, but not really. Most things are still pretty accurate. So if you want to get a better detail on what goes on, watch that video. If you want a quicker version, watch this one. Anyway, first off, we'll be using the prismatic cell slots sort of like setup in the legendary weapons to go over which cells are good. So we have defense cells as our first topic of discussion. The best defense cell, the one you're going to be using most of the time if you want to use a defense cell, is going to be Iceborne. I do not know the alphabet, got lost. Iceborne, increased defenses when at low health and at later ranks grants lifesteal. This basically nullifies 90% of defense cells in the game. They're just, what's the point in using them? They're just gone, no longer that important. There are some exceptions if you want to bring, let's say, fireproof, which is protection against being set on fire. In some cases, you will not get set on fire in later ranks. This is good if you're fighting behemoths that are going to have modifiers that make fire hit like a truck. If that's not the case, you can bring Iceborne, and this can help you heal through fire damage. Iceborne is the master of most trades. Not really damage, although if you're not dying all the time, you're doing more damage. So it's still pretty good in that respect. I wouldn't really use Iceborne in Dauntless Trials, because at the moment, you're getting one shot at half health with Iceborne, so not really the best thing in the world. If you're doing Dauntless Trials, I suggest just going without Iceborne in most cases. Almost all cases. There are other cells you can use though for funsies. Guardian is pretty fun for shield builds. You grant a portion of any shield applied to your unit's ally, but these are for very niche cases, or for kind of like meme builds in a sense. That's just the way she rose. Way she goes. Way she rose. She's got a thick back chat, rowing all kinds of weight. Tough is not a terrible choice, although it's mostly overkill in a lot of respects, because if you have Iceborne, you don't normally need tough. If you use tough though, you're going to be even harder to kill, I guess. So tough gives you more health, and also, it's not even on here, it also gives you increased healing from all sources up to like 50% or some craziness. It's insane. Honestly, it's a lot of freaking support, but you don't normally really need it. You can still use it if you want. I wouldn't suggest it, but it's a possibility. But that is mostly the defense cells. I didn't name most of them because they're not really that useful. That's just how it goes. Quick synopsis, chat. That's what we're doing. All right, power cells. In this cell section or family, whatever you want to call it, we have something called Overpower, which is one of the best cells in the game. Increases damage against staggered behemoths. There are 4 different states for staggered behemoths. There is a true stagger, an interrupt or a boop, a shock proc, and then a part break. So very easy to activate this in multiple different ways. It's useful in almost every single fight in the game. Exceptions would be in Dauntless Trials, whenever there are modifiers that make it to where getting staggers aren't very good, or when behemoths don't have many boops. That's mostly the only case in which it's not very useful. In almost every other part of the game, Overpower is freaking godlike. So really suggest using it. It's very freaking good. Then you have a cell called Rage. Increases your damage when your health is low. Very solid cell. Only really use this cell if you're using a Discipline build, which we'll talk about that in a second, or using Iceborne. But mostly try and get Discipline in your build to cap your health out at half-life, making this cell active all the time. Let's go ahead and go over Discipline real quick, which prevents you from having over half health, making it so Rage is always active, and increases critical strike chance. So critical hits aren't very good in the game, but that changes every now and then. Prevents you from being over half life is the main part here, making it so low life cells like Rage and Wild Frenzy are always active. Rage Hunter is a cell you can use if you don't really have access to low life yet, or if you don't like playing low life. It's also a decent option. Rage is far better in almost every single case though, so it kind of nullifies that. Sharpened is okay in a very niche case, which is going for a one-shot build using Villain Impact. There are videos on that. It's very niche though. Very, very niche. Then you get percent increase to part damage. Part damage does not kill behemoths. Just know that. That's all you gotta know. And then Tenacious is a fun cell to use in a shield build. Not very good though. Now for mobility, there's really nothing crazy here. So conditioning, increase stamina regen. It's meh. You shouldn't really need it towards the end game. If you want to use it for training wheels, that's fine. But other than that, it's not really that solid of an option. Endurance you can use to increase your flight in a glider. It's kind of fun actually. I actually enjoy that a great bit, but it's kind of niche in that sort of sense. Fleet-footed is currently the best cell to go on repeaters IMO, since you are locked into a cell slot on repeaters right now. So dodging, increased movement speed, Pretty solid option. And then everything else is sort of for memes. Now for technique, we have acidic. Very niche cases at the moment since using wounds isn't very good. But if you're playing a wound build with your friends and you want to make wounds and use savagery, that's an option you can use. And you need acidic on weapons that aren't warpike or maybe future weapons to create wounds. Otherwise you can't. Adrenaline, not very good. If it's all you know, if adrenaline's all you have, use it. If you have anything else, don't use adrenaline. I stick by that advice. Barbed, not as good as acidic. There's very niche cases for it though. Berserker is from the trial store, like Discipline. It's honestly a pretty good sell. Not very good on axes, all right on hammers, and pretty good on mostly everything else. So don't ever really use Berserker on axes and or on Twin Suns. Bladestorm, never use. Cunning, very niche cases like in Escalation. That's about it. Evasive Fury, you can use this on an axe build, but if you have Wild Frenzy, then you would pretty much try and use that instead. But sometimes you actually might like having the extra Evasive Fury. It just depends on the build. And I'm skipping the cells that don't matter. Molten can be used instead of Fireproof, but Molten is used in the same vein as Fireproof. It's used if you want to prevent fire damage. That is the only cases in which you take Molten, because the extra attack speed is very low. Predator, if you don't get hit that often, Predator's a solid choice. Increases damage after avoiding damage for a short time. Pretty solid option here. Savagery, if you have a wound build going on, or if your friend is a dedicated wounder, like on Warpike, and you are the one breaking the wounds they make, then Savagery can be pretty fun to use, but pretty niche style at the moment. Weighted Strikes, Monk W. Wild Frenzy. Increased attack speed when at low health. This is used with Discipline and Rage, and it is one of the meta builds, or it's used in the meta builds right now, so very solid to use. If you like life builds, definitely use Wild Frenzy. Now, lastly, we have what is called utility cells. That's what they're called. So there's only like I think 4 options that are really good at the moment, or decent options. So I'm gonna go with Catalyst first. Increases effectiveness of tonics at later ranks, increases duration as well. Catalyst is used if you're popping potions, and it's mostly used in trials, or if you're having a hard time killing certain behemoths. That's when you want to use Catalyst, because wasting potions all the time is not very smart. If you're not using potions at all, Catalyst is useless. Now, if you're not using Catalyst, the next best option is normally Conduit. So Lantern Hold ability grants all Slayers attack speed temporarily. This applies to all your teammates, and it's very good. If you're using Conduit, try your best to have +6. If you have +5, it's not the end of the world. But what happens with Conduit is if you have like +1 Conduit, which gives you very little attack speed, it can overwrite +6 Conduit, which gives you a lot more attack speed. Energized +3 is good on the sword. That's pretty much about it. Engineer is used for pylons. It reduces healing. Yeah. So the reducing part isn't a big deal, but it increases range of pylons. This is normally used in trials, maybe in other cases, but this is for a supportive role. What you can do in a 4-man to 6-man group is have one person run Conduit, another one run Engineer, and the last remaining people run Catalyst or Etheric Attunement. So Etheric Attunement is the % increase to Lantern Charge gained from attacks. If you don't have Conduit, if you don't have if someone's running Conduit, if someone's running Engineer, all that stuff, you can run Etheric Attunement. But as it stands, Catalyst is for potions, Engineers for pylons, Conduits for attack speed, and Etheric Attunement is whenever you don't need any of the other things in a group, and that's about it. And everything else is pretty niche. Zeal can be used to go for really big hits, but that's about it. Like use Drast Lantern, Lantern Tap, increase the damage, and then boom, because it increases the effectiveness of Lantern Tap abilities. For instance, Drast Lantern, you get more damage, and Remain Lantern, you get more attack speed. Now, that's all I got for y'all. Hopefully it helped you. If it did, make sure to drop a like. If it didn't, I apologize sincerely. Really do. If you guys want, check out my stream at twitch.tv/OhDough. I stream there occasionally. Post my Discord at discord.gg/OhDough. #poggers. And if you want, make sure you use credit code OhDough in the Epic Games Store. Supports me a ton. And other than that, if you want some stickers, check out behemothbuddies.storeenvy.com. And I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.